Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I made these journal cards. So I used these two sets of dies here for my focal points. The Sizzix Thinlit 664433 and 666564. And the first one I made was this one. And what I've actually done is used real dried flowers in the background and then decorated on top. This was the second one I did. I've got some little see-through transparent wings there. The die I used is this one. It's unbranded, but I did get it from Amazon. So you might find something similar on there. And today I'm going to do a third one with you. You might have the same type of die at home or something similar where you can get similar results to what I have achieved here. So let's get into the making. I firstly cut out that lattice cover plate out of a masterboard, and I have also cut out two extra ones from a craft cardstock. I'm going to layer those like this with the one over the top for strength. If you don't have a die like mine, but you still want that kind of lattice shape, it's quite easy to make. You just need to cut yourself a rectangle and then cut a smaller rectangle in the middle. I think I left 1/2 inch. Let me just double check. 1 centimetre, just over 1/4 inch. And then I cut some strips to 1/2 inch-ish. And then within my rectangle, I laid corner to corner on the diagonal. Then 2 across like that at equal widths. And then 2 across like this at equal widths. Stuck them on the back, and that gave me this lattice shape. So this is still possible even without a die. Now on this one, I leafed down, then put another die cut, and then put some other flowers down. I was hoping that it would look like some were further back and some were further forward. To be honest, I'm not sure how much you can tell. On this one, I didn't. Yeah, so I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes, to be perfectly honest. So for the purposes of today's video, I will just go ahead first of all and stick these two down. Then we'll add our flowers and then we'll stick that on top. I've already picked the flowers that I want to use, and I've drawn myself a little diagram here just to remind myself how I had them laid out. And I'm going to have this one, is it that way, I think, coming over like that into there. I've got a little orange flower there. Now don't worry if they're in the gap, because we're going to do something about that in a second. This one, I think, is there. I'm going to cut off that stem. And then we've got another one coming into this section here. Like that. So on the bits that I can just tack down, such as on the branches, just going to do that to keep these in place. Is now tacked in just on the cardboard. I just used some sellotape to do that, and the next thing I'm going to do is ink all the way around here in ground espresso. I'm going to go in between all of the gaps as well. I won't film it because you all know what that looks like, so I will get that done and then I will be back with you. In hindsight, I actually just went around the inner parts of these squares because I will ink all the way around once that's stuck on there. Now, there are one of two things that you can do now. I suggest protecting these flowers in some way. One way of doing that is to cut yourself a piece of acetate that will fit within the boundaries of your, I don't know, like cover plate or, you know, whatever it is you want to call it, panel, and then stick that down. And then stick this on top of it to trap your acetate in between, and your flowers will be nicely protected there. The way I'm going to do it is slightly differently. So I'm actually going to stick my front on first before I do anything with acetate, and that will make sense in a little while. So I'm going to just use glue and run some glue over, like I did earlier, all the way around the outside. Make sure you go over the flowers and anywhere where you put sellotape or, you know, any type of tape, because you need to make sure this is held down all the way up these columns. And again, just going to pop my frame on and stick it down. I'm next going to prepare the panel. It's this panel here that you can see in the background. I cut it to just under the size of my die cut lattice panel. So I just tacked a piece of paper down. I'm just going to grab the corner of this. And then I used this brick wall stencil like this, and it's going to tack that down in place as well. I used pumice stone ink and a blending brush to make a brick pattern onto this back. Now this piece of paper is just some cardstock I had in my stash. I liked the kind of neutral colour, and it's also quite a nice light colour on the back as well, which I thought would be good as for journaling. And as I stencil this on, I'm keeping darker towards the outside, lighter towards the middle, and I'm also not stenciling everywhere. Just leaving some spaces empty. Lift this up, pop this to one side, and I'm going to take a little bit more ink, go around the edges, and this will just make this lighter area in the middle pop a little bit more. I'm taking it in not too far, but I'm just bearing in mind that we are going to have a frame stuck here, so I do want to bring it in a little bit. Going to give that a quick dry with my heat tool, just to make sure that ink is nice and dry before I stick the frame on top. And now our frame can be stuck just on top, so I'm going to use, again, the same tacky glue. So while that's drying, I thought I would take you through what we're going to do next. So I have kept all of the inner parts from when I cut that lattice shape out, and I have also cut the same lattice out of some transparency, and I've kept the inner part of that as well. You might be able to see it better. Don't know if it's better on the yellow or on the white, because I'm now going to insert these back into those squares in the frame. I'm going to mix between the transparency, and I'm going to put the transparent windows on any of the gaps where those flowers are. So this is my alternative to using a full piece of transparency behind. If you have cut your own frame, you can still do this. You can cut yourself some transparency and some patterned paper big enough to cover your gaps, and then just stick them onto the back. So the reason for me doing it this way is because I'm not sure, I'm hoping you'll be able to see, but in some spaces we have the pattern inlaid back into where it goes. So we've got some covered up. I've got that lovely texture of the paper, and it just breaks up the background. So I've got one here, and I think I've got one here just under the bird. Then on the flowers, the dried flowers, I have the transparency, so they're nice and protected. And then anything that's left is just left open. So I get three lots of textures, 3 different textures onto one card, and I just like that look. I like adding texture to things, and it was just a different way to approach it, really. And on here I've done exactly the same thing, so you'll see some solid shapes that I've put back in. All of the shapes with flowers have got transparency over them, and then I've got some bits, not as many bits because I've got quite a few flowers on here, but I've got some bits as well that have been left open. They're mainly down here where I've covered up. But again, it's just those little steps, those little bit extra to add those extra details, that extra texture. So I'm bringing this back in now. I've inked around in the ground espresso. I'm first going to do the transparency because just to get those flowers nice and protected. I'm going to use wet glue, and you need very little. This, as long as you use a little bit, this doesn't show. And I'm going to run some glue along the edges like that, and then I'm going to pop a square, and then I'm not going to move it too much. I'm just going to leave the glue to settle just for a moment. While I do that, I will get another square, this time making sure it's the one that's got the flat edge. Bit of glue. Placing that in. So I'm coming back over here, and I've got this little tool again. I used this on my last video, and I'm now just making sure that that transparency is nicely tucked into that space. And as you do this, you can move your glue kind of back and underneath that window so that you haven't got too much showing onto your square. Although, like I said, it actually dries, it will dry clear, so you won't be able to tell anyway. Same here. Okay, And I'm going to continue for all of the windows that have the transparency. So for example, this one, I need a triangle. So I'm just going to find a triangle from my little stash over here and pop the triangle in. Those are all in now. And next I'm going to put some of these solid pieces back in. So I tend to go for kind of opposite ends maybe, and then a little one. I want to keep this free because I'm planning on putting my bird here, so I kind of want to see the branches. And for this we just need to pop some glue in. This is easy. It's exactly the same as I did on the video the other day. Just going to bob that back in there. And hopefully you should be able to see it now. So if I kind of tilt it this way, I've got this bit that's uncovered and I can feel the backing paper. I've then got the inlay that we've put here from the masterboard. And then on this section, because I've got a tiny bit of the stem, I've put some transparency. So perhaps if I tilt it this way and that, you might be able to catch the shine and the transparency, and hopefully like here you'll see there's no shine. That's where I've just got that backing paper. So in terms of decoration, I want to kind of partner it with this one here, and then we've got a set of 3 with 2 birds and the butterfly. So I have prepared some of these stems and blooms the way I have on here. It's from this set here, the Spellbinders. I'm not sure the name, but this is the one here, and I've just cut these ready to use. My little bird is from the set I showed you at the beginning, the Tim Holtz and Sussex, and I've just popped him on some foam tape to give him some support. And all we're going to do now is stick these in place where we want them. So the good thing about the foam tape is that it allows me to work out where I want it to go, and it gives me a chance to move it around, and then once I'm happy, I can then just get some glue and just glue it down into place. So I'm going to let them, like I've done on here, I'm going to let them flick up a little bit just to give the illusion of movement. And I'll just pop a brick onto there to keep them in place while I do these. And what I think I might do is extend that branch and have something maybe coming this way. And I realised my bird is floating in mid-air. I've either stuck him on too low or I've stuck this on too high. So I thought what I would do, this is my sentiment that I've chosen, Everything is Beauty, from the Small Talk stickers. I've backed them on some a scrap of black card to make them a bit thicker, but I thought I would place it there so the bird can actually be sat on the word everything, and that will just ground him a little bit. Oops. So I'm going to bob some glue here. In fact, I'll use my tweezers just to help me get this into place. Okay, so now he's grounded a little bit, and that gives me something also to stick his little foot to. And then Has Beauty to put here. So of course, if you don't have any dies, you can use birds and flowers and leaves cut out of a magazine, that would work just as well and would still give you a really pretty finish. And here's a final look at the 3 all together. I think they make a really nice series of 3. They all work nicely together. I feel like it's quite an interesting way of using dried flowers as well and incorporating those into paper elements. I hope this has given you a little bit of inspiration. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. That helps the channel a lot. And thank you for watching. Take care until next time. I'll see you soon. Bye.